Hello, good evening. I've got a event to relate, I guess. And I asked myself, I really deliberated over whether or not to share this. It's quite personal, not anything bad. What I consider another visitation by Jen. And it was like the one before. It was very brief, but it had a message, one sentence message for me. And it had elements that I don't believe it was a dream at all. And I'll explain why. Well, I wasn't going to share this because it's personal. I mean, what good's it going to do anybody? I had two questions. Would she want me to do this? Well, if she was here still, and this walk, definitely not. She was a very private person, very private. But she's not of this world. You know, she's of the world we're all headed to. You know, she just got there before us, to put it in perspective. Perspectives that I need to keep, because I still struggle with this, with her death. And it's been over a half a year. And I think, I think I'll probably will for the rest of my life. She meant that much to me. And I to her. But she's not of this world anymore. Her cares aren't in this world anymore. So yeah, I guess it's okay to share it. If anybody in her family by some chance sees this and they want me to take it down, definitely let me know. I will. I don't think that will happen, and I'm not sure they would take any offense to it, even if they did, because I definitely, I'll just leave it there. Then I asked myself, well, what good's it do to share this? You know, it's not like I'm trying to tell this as a story to give anybody any thrills, because this is near and dear to me, sacred. To me, it is very near and dear to me, and personal. But I thought, it could help somebody. It could help somebody, and you'll see how at the end of this video. And if it helps anybody, that gives her credit. That even from the other side of the veil, after she passed on from this world, she's still able to help somebody. And if that gives her, good credit, then I'm all for it. So that would be the only reason that I would share this, is that maybe it'll help somebody, because there's definitely a lesson to be learned of it. Now, on with this, I want to tell you, before this happened, I want to tell you that the last time I spoke to her, last time we saw each other, and I'm going to try to hold it together in this. I'm not making any guarantees, but I tell you what, I have wept and wept and wept still. I still miss her on the holidays. It's horrible when you lose somebody you love very, very much on the holidays. Are hard. But the last time I saw her, we met in the flesh, that is, before she died, right before she died. She had some pretty sharp words with me. I greeted, hi, I had some nice words for her, but she answered me back, really flipped out on me with some hateful things, profane, screamed at me. But the woman was visibly suffering beyond description, emotionally suffering because her mother was dying and didn't have long to live at that point. So it must have been pretty rough for her, as she didn't handle death well. I recall a friend of mine died that she never even met. I said, darn, David died just suddenly. He wasn't very old by my standards. He was in his mid-50s, but he a farmer, and he just had a heart attack and he died. A very, very, very good man, David Fleming. And she cried over that. And I said, I appreciate that, but she never even met the guy. And she's told me, and she's told me more than once, that she didn't handle death well. And the one person she was closest to on this earth was her mother. Those two were very close. They were very, very close. And she looked like she was in emotional pain, mental anguish, and she was bent over. Her broken back situation. She had all kinds of problems, medical conditions. She looked like she was in a lot of physical pain, like her world was hell. So when she flipped out on me like she did, screamed at me some things, and that's the last time I ever saw her alive. I didn't take it personal. I knew that was the pain talking. That it was the pain talking, not her. And then she died, not long after that. They say she died of a broken heart. Her heart stopped, and I believe it. Leads up to what I'm getting to. And I went to her end of life they call life celebration. Used to be called a wake. You know, now they call the new thing around here is it's a life celebration, and it's anything but a celebration. Though I get the idea behind calling it a life celebration. We all pass on. Let's celebrate the time we had with this person. That's a very good concept. But it was a pretty hard scene. And I couldn't handle it. I started to leave, and one of her closest friends, because I was choked up and I just mentally couldn't handle being there. And one of her friends, a guy, came out there, grabbed my arm and pulled me in close to him, which wasn't like him. And he said, don't you ever believe for 1 minute that she didn't love you very much right up to the day she died. He said she did. She loved you a lot. And her family told me that I was a big part of her life. But the last time we saw each other, she was, as I described, and flipped out on me, and that was it. And she never knew that would be the last time she'd ever speak to me. There's a lesson in that. This is a takeaway lesson. You don't know when your time is. You don't know when their time is. You cuss somebody out, unkind words, they may die that night. You'll never have a chance to tell them you love them, that you're sorry. She did. Or it could work the other way around. Somebody cusses you out, or whatever, has a you need to mend. You need to say don't assume that that person or you have weeks, months, years yet to live. To give it some time, because it's not guaranteed. I'm sure when she died, one of the things I thought was, I don't believe she died. I believe she left the world. I totally believe in the spiritual life, that she probably was more alive in some ways when she got out of that broken body and this hard life. She had it pretty hard here in ways physically. She had a lot of problems, physical ailments that were, nobody could fix it. The things, she had allergies. She had real bad allergies, real bad. She had that broken back, and her neck was all out of joint, and she was in constant pain. And she had a lot of emotional anguish over what was going on with her mother, slowly dying. And she'd lost her job. She wasn't doing very well, and it showed. She was bent over. She looked haggard for a woman of 41 at the time. She just turned 42 right after that. So, I thought after she died, I believe that she probably, undoubtedly, thought of the last time she saw me and what she said to me. And I said, "Oof, I wouldn't want that on me. With somebody I loved very much, that I had treated him very badly, and then I or they die, and we don't have a chance to say, I'm sorry, I love you." Well, she did. I gotta hold it together here. But it wasn't long ago. You know, I had that visitation I've told of, the visitation that happened at this point about 3 months ago, where I felt like somebody, everybody waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning every morning, like clockwork. And I'm hearing things moving around in the dark. I wasn't afraid or anything. I just thought, I'm not alone. And then one time that happened, I went back to sleep and I found myself standing in a black void, beneath me, above me, all around me. A black void, not standing, but in a black void. Didn't feel like I was standing on anything. And out of the black void, she walked about as close from me to the camera here. And she just showed up in full color, 3D color. She didn't look ghostly or anything, looked like herself. Same hippie clothes she always wore. And her hair, which I loved her hair. She had beautiful hair. She wore it long. And she walked up to me and she says, "You need to move on with your life now." And she's coming right up to me, pointing at me, saying, "You need to move on with your life now, Tim." Or, "Tim, you need to move on with your life now." And whew, that was it. And I knew that was her telling me. She's trying to help me out. She cares about me. Well, I had another one recently that I do not believe was a dream. But this was different in ways, but very powerful. And I'll tell you what happened. I guess you could call it a dream. I call it a visitation. I'd say this is the 4th time in my life this has happened. It would be first time would be the death of my friend as a teenager, Brian Hunt. The second time would be when my mother passed. Was on visitation like that. The third time was Jen, which I just told of in the void. And the 4th time is this one, where I found myself in a place that was black and gray, like a gray mist, dark, but with like a gray mist. And I'm standing in front of a door, just a regular, like a modern door in the mist. And I walk in, I just walked in, I opened the door, I go in, and I don't recall walking, I just kind of floated in. And inside this room, if you could call it a room, all around me, the walls were black and gray mist, like what was outside the room. But there was a stainless steel looking gurney table with her body on it, covered over in a white sheet. And I walked up to it, or floated up to it, and I looked down at it, and I knew it was her, even though she was covered over. You could see all the features. I just knew it was her. And I put my hand on her shoulder. You know, feeling like I love you. And I put my hand on her shoulder. It felt real. I've had dreams where all kinds of things happen, but there really is no sense of touch. In this, I could feel her shoulder. You know, hard. It had substance. And when I put my hand on her shoulder gently, like her head would be here, so I guess it was this shoulder, and her feet would have been there, and her head would have been right there. And I put my hand on her shoulder, like in reverence and love. And I could feel her shoulder. Definitely, I had a sense of feeling, touch. All of a sudden, she popped up, threw the sheet off her, grabbed my hand in hers, real tight. And I was surprised how tightly she squeezed my hand. And she pulled herself up, half sitting, right to my face, wide-eyed. And she says, "I love you." And squeezed my hand, looking me in the eyes. And she had a look. She did not look ghastly. It looked like she had a look of desperation. Like she was desperate to tell me this. And I got the impression, and that was it. I mean, I walked into this room, there's a stainless steel gurney with a white sheet, and she's under it. I knew it was her, and I walked up and gently put my hand on her shoulder in reverence and in love. And she came off, she grabbed my hand in hers and pulled herself up and squeezing my hand hard. And she looked me wide-eyed right in my eyes, and she says, "I love you." That was it. Poof. I woke up. I don't think that was a dream. I got the impression, two things. I don't know why it came to me like that with her on a gurney. Maybe it was, I have no idea why she appeared this way. But she didn't do that to frighten me, obviously. She wanted to help me, and she wanted to let me know that she loved me. And she looked desperate. She looked desperate. She had a look of desperation in her eyes when she looked at me, and she pulled herself right up close to me. And it startled me. And I was really shocked how she was squeezing my hand really hard. I could feel it. And she said, "I love you." And I got the impression that it took her a great deal of effort to appear to me this way. I don't think it's an easy thing for them to do this. But she got through. Because I'm spiritually sensitive. You know, this, I don't know what you'd call it, psychic or what. I don't like the word psychic. I don't know what you'd call it. But she's able to get through to me. Twice like that. One time, I'm certain it was her right after I had what I call blessed reassurance that she was all right, that my prayers were heard, and I asked God to let her come to me. I asked God if it be His will, if it's all right, let her come to me, because I needed some help, because I'm really, as you can tell, devastated by her sudden death. But I wanted you to know that you should take away from this that, can you imagine how many millions, billions of times, losing somebody you love is part of life. Losing somebody suddenly that you love very much, suddenly they're here and then they're not here. Part of life. Having said some unkind things or things you regret and not having the chance to take them back and tell that person you love them. Unfortunately, that's part of life too. She got through. But how many times do you think people's souls haven't been able to? I thank God, because God sees me suffering, and I suffer still. I'm surprised I got through this without weeping. I did a lot of that today, thinking about telling this. So I guess I got it out of my system. But she seemed desperate. I never seen her like that. And she looked desperate, and she says, "I love you." Like with a purpose. Looking me right in the eyes and squeezing my hand hard. And I think she's squeezing my hands and all that to let me know this is not a dream. Because it's like almost like an ouch thing. I mean, that was a grip. This is not a dream. She got through. And you know what I did? This is how I handled it. I prayed to God about it first. I thought about it because I didn't know, man, it was just a wild dream. My subconscious is really going through some turmoil over this, which it is. But I think this is not a dream. It's just like the other time. It's like, it's hard for them to get through like that. And they usually are just able to give you one sentence. Sometimes just one word. But it's very difficult for them to break through the veil. I think they have to come to us when we're sleeping in an altered, then they can reach us. I don't know. But I prayed to God about it, and I felt certain that this was what I would call a night visitation. And I was grateful for it. I needed to hear that from her. You know how rare an opportunity it is to have somebody you love that died suddenly be able to tell you they love you. I'm grateful for it. And I don't know, sometimes I suspect I don't go around talking all the time to her. She did tell me to move on with my life, and I'm trying to. But this happened also, and what was I going to say? I talked to her, I prayed to God about it first and foremost. But I said to her, "Thank you, you got through. Thank you, I know it wasn't easy. And I thank God for letting her. I don't think these things happen unless God allows it. And I asked God. God saw I needed some help. And maybe she needed some help too. And I said, I know you love me. Thank you very much. I love you too. I always will. I said, go and rest easy. Be at peace. Be happy. Go to Jesus. And I pray to Jesus, give her a big hug for me. You know, and that's it. I mean, the only reason I'm spilling all this out to you strangers, really, the World Wide Web, I don't even know if I'm going to post this. But if you got anybody in your life that you love, and you need to tell them you love them now. I'm sorry, right now. You need to do it. They may drop dead. You may drop dead. You may never get the chance, and you won't be like her and me, where she was able to get through and tell me two things like this, that I need to move on with my life, and that she loves me. Those are good things, meant to help me get through this. I believe God allowed these things to happen. And the other time was when I got home from work, working night shift, and I laid down on my bed. I live alone. And no, there's no doubt in my mind, somebody sat down right next to me on the bed, and they sat there for a while. They were shifting around, moving. I could hear the bed. I believe it was her, because I had just got through asking God to let her visit me. And I felt love and peace. God, it's hard when you lose somebody, your soulmate. You know, it's hard. I mean, I've never felt this way about anybody. I mean, like I said, I've said 2 days before I met her, the only other time in my life, I think God spoke to me quite clearly when I was praying to God about things. I heard him say quite clearly, I have someone very special for you. And I know I was him. And I met her 2 days later. I wasn't even looking for anybody. We just, pow. We both said this is unnatural, the way we felt about each other. We both agreed there was something unnatural about it. If there's anybody in your life, mend those fences. Tell them you love them. Tell them you're sorry. If you need to apologize. If you don't need to apologize, just tell them you love them. And then see what comes of it. Pray about it first. That always would help. Pray about it. I believe God allowed this to happen for a reason. And it gives her a little credit on the other side. Maybe, who knows, right? That's why I'm laughing about it, because who knows? There's an alternative motive. I want to give her a little gold star on her report card. I don't know that it works that way, but you know what I mean. She's helping people out here from the other side still. So, I don't mean to make light of this, but I'd give her credit. Because I got the impression, like I said, it took a great amount of effort for her to get through. I think that's why she's desperate to get those words out while she could. And the same with the other time she appeared to me. We only had seconds, really seconds. I think it takes a great deal of effort. That was something. I'll never forget that. That's another reason I'm posting this, because this is kind of like a scrapbook for me. This whole channel is all my memories and things I've learned from things. All right, remember this. Don't delay. Jesus told us to love one another and forgive each other. If you got any long-standing grudges with anybody, let them know you love them. Let them know. Because you may not get the chance like she did. These kind of things happen, but they are rather rare. You can't count on it happening. Most of the people I've known that have died, except for 3, her, my mom, and my friend Brian, they didn't appear to me. All right. Yeah, I'm working nights. I actually took tonight off from work just to tell this story. And it's worth it. It's important to me to tell this. Man, that was something. I mean, black gray mist. I go into this door and there's black gray mist, no walls that I could see. And right there, lit up, like there's a light over it, but there wasn't, but lit up brightly, was a stainless steel table, gurney, whatever, with her laying on it, with a white sheet over her, quite lit up. Put my hand on her shoulder, standing by, feeling like I love you, reverence, I love you. And then she pops up from under that sheet, grabs my hand hard, pulls herself right up to my face, looks at me wide-eyed, and says, "I love you." Man, that was powerful. You need to tell people that now while you can. However you want to do it. You don't have to be that dramatic about it. It could be a card, a text message, anything, a hug. Let them know. You don't know how much time you or they have. And Jesus commanded us to do this. God loves it when we overcome things like this. Pray about everything. I prayed to God about this. I prayed to God about her soul, every day. You know, the time will come where I won't be doing that, I'm sure, but I still do every day. And that's the type of friend I am. Especially with her. Sorry. That's it. I don't know when I'll get back on here again, or, for that matter, if I will, but I plan on it. But that's what this message is about. We don't know how much time we have here. So you may not get the chance that Jen and I had for her to tell me she loves me from beyond the grave. So mend your fences. No, not mend your fences. That didn't make sense. Mend your relationships, the broken ones. Like I said, you prayerfully pray first. Any way you see how, I don't know you. You've got your ways. Maybe a text message, maybe a card, maybe in person. All right, Merry Christmas, to everybody. And I don't know why I always take my hat off when I greet people. I think I'm like an old. I am old, but nobody did that in my time. I just do. I don't know why I do. I always take my hat off, like a sign of respect or reverence. I don't know. Merry Christmas to you. Good night.